Thank you. So, hello everyone. Nice to be here. So, thank you for inviting me for this talk. So, I will talk about the second part of the talk. So, the first part was given by Shrikant yesterday. He is in the public, and so now we'll look at the proof of the main result mainly. So, this work was done with Shrikant, well, the speaker yesterday, and Nutan Limay. So just a brief recall of what I need for just 2-3 minutes for the proof. So we'll consider algebraic circuits. So here we'll always consider that an algebraic circuit, the output gate is an addition, the sum gate. As we consider in general irreducible polynomials, it's not a big problem. It's not very big difference. So polynomial will be in a field. So in general, we want to compute a sequence of polynomial by sequence of circuits, and we want to show that this sequence of circuit has to grow super polynomially. But in fact, in general, we'll just consider circuit one by one when we want to consider the size. The size, as yesterday, we define that it's the number of wires of the graph. And the depth will be the maximal length of a path from a leaf to the output. So here I have not everything, but mostly 1, 2, let's say it's 1, it's 3. Yeah. And in fact, we can merge if we have a 2 multiplication, which add one after the next one, similar for addition. So what will be important for us is the depth, finally, is the maximal number of alternances between plus, addition, and multiplication. Another thing which I've said yesterday, it's here there are circuits, but we can consider formulas. Formulas is the same thing. When the graph here we see it's not a tree, but if the graph is a tree, we'll call it this structure a formula. So in general, a formula is more restricted to a circuit. But in fact, in our case, we'll consider constant depth circuit. So when the number of alternants is a constant. In this case, it's easy to see we can go from circuit to formula with a polynomial blow-up. In fact, if we look at the Fanning here, we know it's at most the size of the circuit. And we can copy a distinct subcircuit for each one of the children. So to do that, we need to multiply the size by S. We'll do it at each layer, at each level. So at most, the depth, I call it gamma, I think here. No, I didn't say, but often I will call it gamma. So gamma times. So the blow up will be at most S to the gamma. If the depth is constant, it's a polynomial. So in particular, when I say the depth is the number of alternants, formulized circuit will be the same thing for me. So in particular, in fact, we can see depth 3 circuit as just what we call sum of product of sum, because we need a sum at the top after some products, some sums, and it's done. Similarly, depth 4 will be just things we have written on the form, sum of products, and so on. There are some questions about that, because I was a bit fast because it was said yesterday, but there are things which are unclear to be difficult after for the following. So no questions?
Anyway, you will prove the lower bound for formulas because it's equivalent.
Exactly. In fact, we will see, but not a small detail that is equivalent. Just on last slide before what we will prove. So it's just to recall what it was known before. So as it was said yesterday, so in the Boolean settings, we have a lot of strong lower bounds for constant depth Boolean circuits. And in fact, it's all the results from the 80s. And in the algebraic settings, in fact, we have very few things. It's surprising because in general, we think that lower bound for algebraic circuits are easier than lower bound for Boolean setting. But in this case of a constant depth formula, it's not the case. So it's not the case. It was not the case in the sense that for a depth 2 formula, we can see here we have, it's stupid because depth 2 is just sum of product. So the product of the inputs is just a monomial. So we want to write our polynomial as a sum of monomials. So the best we can do is just expand the polynomial. So here we have some exponential lower bound. But now, if we want depth 3 and more, for depth 3, the best we had before, it was a result I had with Kaya and Sarah. We get a cubic lower bound. For depth 4, there was a recent result by Gupta, Sarah, and Sankey, so that the lower bound, best lower bound, was a bit more than quadratic. And for depth 5 and more, in fact, we have very, very few things. There is a result by Raz, and in fact, we see it, another result by Shubatsky, where the lower bound seems to be just superlinear. So there was before a big threshold. When depth 2, we have exponential lower bound, and the depth 3 and larger, we have a very weak lower bound. And in fact, so what I will present today is to show that we can get, for any constant, finally something which is a super polynomial. As I say, there is one caveat. We need the field of characteristic 0. We'll see why. We'll see at some point where it will need it. We also need that the degree is quite small. Let's say we'll take it smaller, a big O of log n. And in this setting, so if we want to compute the polynomial IMM iterative matrix multiplication ND in depth gamma, we need size at least n to the d to the something which depends only on gamma. So if gamma is constant, constant. So it's roughly n d to the some constant, maybe close to 0, but some constant. First thing, it's just to recall what is IMM. So IMM is just the product of the matrices. So if we consider matrices, the first one we take row 1, the last one we take 1 column, and we take the product. If in each cell we put a different variables, we see that the output is just a 1-1 matrix, so we can say it's a polynomial, and it's a polynomial in all these variables. So of degree d, the number of matrices, and number of variables is roughly d times n squared, where small n is the width of the matrices. Okay, and as I said yesterday, in fact, the first case, so we saw before, the first case we saw interesting, it was already depth 3, where we have just cubic lower bound. So we'll always focus particular in the case of depth 3. So in the case of depth 3, here we will show a bound in n to the square root of d. So d to the 1/2. There is omega, being correct. There are some constants in the exponents. Okay, so in fact, what will be interesting is here the constant is optimal. This was a Shrikant showed yesterday, that in fact we have upper bound, which are matching upper bound, not with the constants, but at least the square root of d. And here, after we see the problem is the constant decrease quite fast, exponentially fast, with respect to the depth. So after the constants are not optimal anymore. So the goal today is completely to have the proof of the case of depth 3 and to have most of the proof for depth larger. Or at least the idea. Last slide of a thing which are supposed to be known from yesterday. It's an easy thing, but I will need it in the following really a lot, so it has to be clear. It's a restriction of polynomials that we will consider. So there are things which are very usual. A polynomial which is called homogeneous if every monomial in it has same degree. We'll say a polynomial is multilinear. It is a bit much strange for the, but we'll just say that every monomial has at most one occurrence in every monomial has at most one variable. And the set multilinear, which will be very important for today. So if we partition the set of the variable into d sets, a polynomial is called set multilinear if every monomial has exactly one variable from each set. A good example for us is IMM. IMN, if we take a monomial for the product, it has exactly one variable from here, one variable from here, one variable from here, and so on. So IMN is a set multilinear with the partition of the variable. Each matrix corresponds to one subset of variables. And the interest to restrict the classes of polynomial, now we'll also restrict the classes of formulas, to say circle, but let's say formula, and quite easily. We just want to say that a formula is homogeneous if every gate inside it computes something which is homogeneous. Completely similarly. So it's not completely trivial in the sense that if we recall from yesterday, we showed that we could compute the elementary symmetric polynomial, which has a homogeneous polynomial. And a good way to compute it was to compute something which has higher degree, big degree, a strange degree in the middle. So this formula was not homogeneous. Here we want to restrict the case, but everywhere it is homogeneous. We have the same thing for multilinear. Every gate inside we compute something multilinear. And the same thing for submultilinear. So now it means that for every gate we have to have a subset of the variables, subset of the indices that we will consider. And so the formula will be called the set multilinear if every gate inside is set multilinear.
Okay. Sebastian, your low bound will be for general formulas. So you will use this in the middle of the proof.
Completely. In that, I will say just after the next slide, but completely. In fact, in the proof, we'll need the restricted class of a model of computations. And in fact, it's completely the idea. And in fact, this idea was already appeared in a paper by Raz. In fact, Raz shows that if we want to find general lower bound for polynomial, for a formula which compute the polynomial P of degree D, in fact, there is a way to get it from a sufficiently large lower bound from set multilinear formula. In fact, what it showed that if we have a formula of size S computing a polynomial which is set multilinear, we can transform this formula to become set multilinear. There is a blow-up inside. The blow-up, it shows the blow-up, it is something in poly S times log S to the D. Particular, it is mainly exponential in the degree of this blow-up. In particular, now, if we want to say inside of D, we take a degree, something which is in log n divided by log n. If at the beginning we have an input such as the size, it is poly n. Now, what is that? This is still poly n. Is this, we can say it's a 2 to the D to the log S. Our S is poly n, so it's the same than log n. And D is a log n divided by log n. So still there's some big O, but that is 2 to the big O of log n, which means it's polynomial. So if we have a super polynomial lower bound for set multilinear formula, when the degree is small, smaller than log n divided by log n, it's sufficient to get super polynomial lower bound for general formula. And in fact, it will be something quite the same idea we want to do here. So first, okay, what I say, if we, at this degree, if we start from poly n, we finish with poly n. So in particular, we have the equivalence, what we will call the escalation. If we have a super polynomial lower bound for set multilinear formula, we get a super polynomial lower bound for any formula.
But just a comment for people who are not familiar with set multilinear polynomials, it's the same as tensors. The tensor is a set multilinear polynomial. That's another way of thinking.
Yeah, set multilinear is a strong restriction that each time we want to compute something set multilinear, set multilinear means that at each case, so it corresponds to a partition of our variable, so a subset of our variable, when we have Yeah. So it means that each gate alpha, we have some where we know that x1, xd is the partition of all the variables. So at each gate, we associate some of these subsets, and any monomial which appear in the polynomial computed here has to be of the form one variable for which one of this set. Where this subset is fixed by the gate. And so this result by Raz was quite very interesting. It means that yeah, it's sufficient sometimes to get lower bound for set multilinear formula, which seems to be a very strong restriction about our model of computation. There is one problem is this result directly. It's this result, this transformation here does not work in constant depth. If we start with something which is small depth, in fact, here we get something which is a large depth here. But the idea is to try to do something similar, but in our setting in constant depth. Okay, so now we want to do something similar, but with constant depth. So we start with, we want to compute a polynomial, which is set multilinear, and of degree d. Okay, what we will show that if we have a circuit of size x, and that's
question.
Sorry, a question on the previous slide.
Yes.
Are there known examples that like the smallest formula is not set multilinear for a set multilinear polynomial? Could it be that it's always
I think so. I don't have example now directly like that.
But maybe with a constant difference or something.
So
there are
it's
things, for example, for determinant. But yeah, so small circuits. Nothing else I want to say.
Yeah, the determinant is set multilinear in the rows. We don't know a polynomial size circuit or formula which is multilinear. But of course, we have a polynomial size circuit. Yeah, that's a very good example. That's the best example.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
So yeah, so we want to do something similar, but in constant depth. So we start with a circuit, a small size, and depth gamma. Depth now is fixed. And what we'll show, in fact, this part was already, in some cases, already known, that we can try to homogenize this circuit. To get a homogeneous circuit, we have a blow-up in size. And in fact, we can show that the depth blows up also, but not too much, by a factor 2. Now that we have a homogeneous circuit, what we just want to set multilinearize it. So now, say directly the values, but if we have something of size S1 here, in fact, here we can show that we can get a set multilinear circuit of size poly of S1, d to the big O of d. So if we replace S1 by the value which has written before, we can also solve. And now the depth does not increase. This is good because now we have the same thing. If here we replace by degree something in log n divided by log n, similarly, here we start with poly n. We have poly n everywhere. This thing was mostly the same thing than before, so d to the d will become poly. If we start with something as in the Raz proof, we start with poly n, we get poly n everywhere. In particular, what it means that if we want to show superpolynomial lower bound for constant depth gamma, if we are able to get this transformation, the only thing we need to get is a set multilinear circuits, lower bound for set multilinear circuits of size superpolynomial. So that seems crazy because very, very interesting, because in fact, good lower bound for set multilinear circuit in constant depth, we have a lot. That we know that and here we have some results. One already from which will be very interesting in the following, but there are also some results by Raz, and one is a day of, and so on, other things. Problem: these lower bounds this lower bound of this form. Something completely exponential f is 2 to the d, something like that. But what we will call the FPT lower bound, where we have something exponential in d, but still poly in n. And the problem is us, with d is very small, and we need something super polynomial. So we cannot use this lower bound. And if we want something like that, let's say a non-FPT lower bound to do something similar with the parameterized complexity. In fact, now we know things for depth 3. We know things for depth 4. But I will call the previous thing. Let's say actually here. No, okay. If we want, we say the first lower bound we will like is a depth 3. So here we need at least depth 5 to be interesting. The first depth, such that the set multilinear circuit is interesting, it will be depth 5. And now the problem is the current lower bound, which are non-FPT, are for depth 3, for depth 4, and not more. So we need also to get something similar to that for depth 5 and more. Okay, so if we recall what I say in the statement of the result, we can notice that I have something explicit here. Put something like that. And a good thing with that also, it's in fact, if we look at this thing, we don't have to, it's a bit more than what we needed to get just super polynomial. So we can go to log n instead of log n divided by log n, get something a bit more. And the good thing is we transfer, this thing in fact will be larger than the d to the d, the 2 to the square of d, so it will disappear. If we replace s by that here, you will get this here, and you will get always this here. Okay. So now the plan of the proof is quite clear. First, we would like to prove this transformation. We can transform homogeneous circuit into set multilinear circuits. Then we want to prove to transform general circuit into homogeneous circuit without increasing the depth too much. And we want to add some non-FPT lower bound sufficiently large. And now we just plug it in our escalation. And it will give the final lower bound, what we'll get. So we see now what will be interesting is finally, we'll only try to get lower bound for set multilinear circuits and not for general circuits, as mentioned before. It's why set multilinear circuit will be very important in the following. As previously, let's say what will be interesting, particularly is the case of gamma equals 3. I say here we can get n to the omega square root of d. And in fact, so here, so the case gamma equals 3, we can see it means here delta equals 5. And here we also need n to the omega square root of d. So in particular, what we would like to show is in the case of a depth 5 set multilinear circuit, we can get lower bound in n to the omega square root of d. Okay, so put an array the first part of the proof. So we want to transform a homogeneous circuit into a set multilinear one without increasing the depth. And in fact, that I know nowhere where it was written before, but it's quite easy. In fact, it's really we do what we just try to, what should be usual to do. It's not tricky at all. In particular, it's very similar to the usual homogenization for the general circuits. In fact, the idea is just duplicate the gates as much as we need.
Duplicate the gates, you mean you separate each polynomial to its set multilinear parts.
Exactly. So I will explain a bit more, but exactly that. If we have, so we start with a homogeneous circuit. And circuit. I will put in a small term. We will let it like that. For more space. And so the idea is that for any gate, we want to duplicate. Why? What is the idea? Let's say that the gate alpha computes something of the form. We can put inside the square. x1, x2 plus x1, x3 plus x2 square. We know alpha is homogeneous. That is known from the hypothesis. Now it will compute something like that. And let's say that x1 comes from one set, x2 comes from another set, and x3 comes from a third set. In particular, at the end, we want to compute something which is set multilinear. So this monomial can be cancelled. It will be cancelled somewhere, but we can already remove them. We don't want to copy them. It will not appear at the end. But we still want to appear this monomial and this monomial. The problem is here, they come from different partitions. They come from partition x1, x2, and this one comes from the partition x1, x3. But what we do, we just do different gates to compute the value for different partitions. We want to alpha which corresponds to the partition 1, 2. Well, this one will compute this part. And now we want alpha, which corresponds to the partition 1, 3, will compute this part. Let's write something, but we know it's homogeneous, so we can consider the degree of a gate. And so the idea, we want to transform a gate into different gate, the index after. And what we want that each gate corresponds to a subset of the indices. So we want that we take some of the subsets. And we want what? We know that each monomial has degree d alpha. So we want the number of indices exactly d alpha. So we know how many subsets there are. There are at most d choose d alpha. Okay, and what we want quite usually that as expected, the part alpha s, we want it computes the sum for all monomials, which are set multilinear with respect to the variable x, s. So we take one variable, so that corresponds to a set of indices, one variable for each one of these indices. And what we want so this polynomial, it's equal to sum of this monomial and the coefficient. So we want the coefficient which are already in M. By that, I want to say the coefficient of M, monomial M in alpha. Alpha S1 will correspond to the coefficient of this monomial will be 1. And alpha S, I don't know, will correspond to the coefficient here. Okay, and so we just show by induction that we can do it.
Well, this is by induction from the bottom. The variables are already in this situation.
Exactly, exactly. We start by the left. If it is a constant, it's already done. If it is a variable, it's already done. Now in the alpha is the sum gate. But it's good because in fact, if we want to compute with a given subset of indices, we just have to take when the children have the same subset of indices. We know the circuit is homogeneous, so we know that the children of this gate already have the good degree. We just want to take the children which have also the good partition. Here we have alpha, a sum gate, is a beta 1, beta p. Now, if we want to compute alpha s, we just take the sum. When here we put input beta 1 s, beta p s. If we take the part of alpha which correspond to given partition, if it is a sum, it corresponds to each time we have to do the sum of the good partition on each one of the children. Okay, so the only case which is a bit tricky is the multiplication. Let's say alpha is a multiplication of children beta 1 until beta p. What we want, so now if we want alpha s, what will be? But let's say, in fact, we can do all partition which can give the partition S. So all partition which from here, so let's say, take P partition, each one is I, is a partition of a beta I. So what we have the restriction that Si equal degree of beta I. And we want that all this partition at the end gives a partition S. It means that S1 union SP, and all that is a partition of S.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if we look at this thing, we will consider the case of every, we look at from which partition S come from, look at every possibilities, we sum every possibility where it can come from, and we merge them now to get alpha S.
This is the only place you get D to the D instead of 2 to the D.
Exactly, exactly. It is the point here. So maybe there is a tricky way to do this thing in a smarter way to get something better. But here it's just basic way. We just do everything. We expand everything. And so we get only D to the D. But yeah, there is no trick here. In particular, so if we want the final size, each gate, we look at each gate is replaced by, so at least each gate, at least we need to copy it, we say, we need to duplicate it. So we say we need to duplicate it D choose D alpha times. And now, in the case it is a leaf of addition is done, but in the case of multiplication, each one of these gates will create all this multiplication gate for each one of these terms of this sum. And the size of this sum is what? It's just D beta 1, D beta P, D alpha, choose all these things. And that is always smaller than factorial D. So each gate is duplicated at most factorial d times. Even more than duplicated. Each gate creates at most d factorial new gates in the new circuits. So the blow up in the final circuit, it's at most d factorial, but I put d to the big O of d. So it's a bit even better, a bit better than that. In fact, it's d factorial. Okay, so it is clear. So we already did the first part of the proof. Look at the proof. We say we wanted to prove this transformation. This transformation is a low one. So we finish this transformation. Let's go for the second transformation. So now we go from a general circuit to a homogeneous circuit. And we want the depth is controlled. So here it will increase a bit, but not too much. In fact, this thing was already a bit known. In fact, it was known in the case gamma equals 3. So the first case which was interesting for us. The case which are interesting for us is gamma equals 3 and delta equals 5 and larger. And in fact, so we will recall, we'll see how is the proof of this case, and you just see after how we can do something larger. In fact, so now we start for something, in case gamma equals 3, we start from a circuit of depth 3, of small size, and we want to compute something of homogeneous and of depth 5 of restricted size. So we start with something of depth 3. So something of depth 3, it is something of this form. It's just a sum of product of a sum. It's affine in the sense that it has probably there are some constants, because otherwise, if it's only linear, everything it will be homogeneous, it will be already done. You can see that if all Lij are linear of degree, homonomial of degree 1, there is no constant term. This is homogeneous, so the product is homogeneous. And so the sum can take only the good degree, what we want, will be homogeneous. So in fact, the problem will really come from the fact that it's affine. There are addition with some constants here. Okay, let's put it that in more, let's say clearly. So what to say? So we have the sum in each sum. So there are maybe some parts which are completely linear. So parts which are completely linear will not to be already done. We don't really care. Let's say it's a degree delta. Let's multiply everything by a constant. Say you can always put a constant, just now it has always of this form. Where L prime ij, now this is linear. When the constant is 0, I put it here. When the constant is not 0, I put the constant here. And now we have a 1 and something like that. And now, if we remember what Shrikant said yesterday, we say that this. Another thing, sorry. And in fact, this, we want to compute something at the end which is homogeneous. So maybe here there are things which are of different degrees, but what we want, we only want to take the homogeneous part of the good degree that we want at the end. So at the end, if we want to, we compute something of degree d. In fact, here we just want to compute the homogeneous part of degree d minus delta of that.
Can we assume delta is 0 and forget about this? I mean, the real thing is happening in the 1 plus Lij, right?
Sorry?
Yeah. I mean, can we assume for simplicity that delta is 0? I mean, we don't.
Yeah.
This is not interesting. The part that's interesting is how to.
Exactly. We can assume completely that delta is 0. Delta is just, in fact, this is already done, so it's just I remove them, but we can assume that delta is 0 if you want. It changes nothing of the proof.
We want the part of some degree d of this product.
Yeah, so we want mostly the degree d component of this product.
Sorry, may I ask, how can you assume without loss of generality that the constant term is 0? It's just a linear transformation?
Okay, I will do it without assuming it. In fact, there are some way to assume it.
Oh.
But in fact, I can do it, yeah, I will keep the Li to be formal. So I will not assume it now. In fact, there is some way to assume it, in fact, to add some constants, generic constants, to remove them That is the same similar that what I forgot his name. When we want to remove the divisions, we have the same problem. At some point, we want to ensure that in the division, the bottom part, you already have plus a constant. We don't have something affine, something linear, we always have something affine. In a similar way, but in fact, we don't need it. We really don't need it here. We cannot assume. We can keep the linear part here. And so what we want the elementary symmetric polynomial of degree d minus delta. The number variable is at most the size of L prime I1, L prime IS.
But in the paper, you do assume it in this part. I've read it. You say in the part of the depth 3, you said for the first example, before the general case, you say we can assume it without loss of generality. So is this the same thing that I'm saying, or am I misunderstanding?
In our paper, in fact, we do mostly the idea of the proof for depth 3 for this case, which was already known before. And we say we assume because there is a way, but after we do formally the proof for depth 3 and larger. And here, in fact, we use these things.
Okay.
Okay, so we want to get only the elementary part of the degree d minus delta of these things, of this input, where these are linear. And here we assume nothing. So if the constant are 0, we put them here. And constant are non-zero, we put them here. In fact, this thing, in the case 3 and larger, it's a bit more tricky. That's why it's done more slightly. We cannot do exactly things like that in case 3 and larger, more than 3. But okay, but I will skip it. It's not important for what I will say now. Okay, and now, in fact, we see these are homogeneous. This is homogeneous. The sum is homogeneous. So the only thing you want to compute this thing homogeneously. So it is sufficient to get. So we want at the end something of depth 5. So sum of product of sum of product of sum. We have a sum outside, but we can plug it with the thing here. We have a sum outside. But so it is sufficient to get the homogeneous sum of product of sum of product of sum for the elementary symmetric polynomial for any whole degree. Let's say that's no problem. And in fact, this is known. So if we have this depth 5, homogeneous depth 5, we add a sum outside. It doesn't change the depth. We add a sum in the output. It doesn't change the depth. Okay. And in fact, so it's already like the formula was already appeared in a paper by Nissan Gesson, not the same one. This one is more recent. I forgot the year. But in fact, in this paper, they notice it's a good way to be even a depth 4, small depth 4 formula for the elementary symmetric polynomial. They didn't notice at this point that it's a homogeneous way to compute it. But it was noticed in so it was, as I said before, in Gupta, Kamat, KL, Saptarechi, the result reduction to depth 3. And notice, in fact, this way to compute by depth 4 formula for elementary symmetric polynomial, it is homogeneous. And in fact, independently, roughly in the same time than GKK, a bit before, I think it appeared in a paper by Robert and UDF.
You mean my paper with Amir Spilka, not with no,
it's Spilka, sorry, maybe you think you're right.
Yeah, may I ask if, so you essentially use here the characteristic 0 or large field to do this interpolation, but is it known that for instance, for finite field, it's impossible to do this? I mean, it's known that symmetric polynomials are hard, but is it possible to show a separation on finite field between homogeneous and non-homogeneous circuits for small depths?
Yeah, it's a Benor construction cannot be carried out over small finite fields like F2 because there are lower bounds, Razbov-Smolensky. This is basically the Boolean case, and there are lower bounds there. So
yeah, but this doesn't answer this because the Benor construction is not homogeneous.
that's what you asked, the separation between homogeneous. What did you ask?
Yes, separation between a homogeneous and non-homogeneous. Now, Benor construction shows that for finite, over finite field, right? So you have to show it is known that this symmetric are hard for. No, but you see, you don't have the upper bound for the finite field. You don't have a symmetric polynomial, so there's no separation. Am I misunderstanding?
You're asking whether there's a separation over finite fields between homogeneous.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know exactly this thing like that exactly, but in fact there is one point. It's the only part in the proof where we use the characteristic is 0. So if at the end we have something which doesn't work, for example, which doesn't work in finite fields. So if we take a polynomial which in finite field we cannot compute with something a lower bound which is better to the n square root of d, for example, in F3. I think the only part of the proof when there will be a problem, which will be here.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm asking. Maybe it's unknown, or maybe I don't know. It's just a reference question, like whether something. Thank you.
And in fact, so to get, in fact, we can even get a depth 4. It's already 20. Sorry, a bit slower than expected. We can get a depth 4, in fact. And in fact, it's just Newton-Girard identities. Or Girard-Newton, or just Newton identities. So, well, I'd like to put all the one. Like an easy way to say that is just that the elementary symmetric polynomial. And here we have some constants of 0, and here we have, let's say, the power, which is just the sum, power k is just the sum of the xi to the k. So this we can compute it in depth 2. The determinant, if we expand everything, we can compute it in depth 2 homogeneously. And so we can get a depth 4. The size of this expansion is exactly to the square root of d, exactly the final size here. And it says that here we have a d factorial, which is a problem in positive characteristic. Okay, so as I see, I'm not quickly. So for case larger, genuine case, in fact, we want to do something just to say 2 words, something similar. So the only difference is now, instead of that, we'll get something of this form. Now, if we take a sum which will be not completely at the bottom, so we get something which is the constant, plus maybe something of degree 1, say 1, plus something of degree 2, plus, and so on. And now, when we want to take the elementary symmetric polynomial, we need to take a variable from here will count for 1, a variable from here will count for 2, and so on. So in fact, we just want a weighted version of elementary symmetric polynomial, where each variable has a weight. And now we want that each monomial has the same weight degree. And in fact, with Mukherjee and Bera recently, they prove that we can prove there is some way to prove Newton-Girard identities with graphs. In fact, what is interesting with this proof, it's easy to get that from weighted version of elementary symmetric polynomial, we can get a similar Newton identities. So we can get a similar formulation, so the similar depth 4 for these new polynomials. Okay, so let's do the last part of the proof. So we saw the 2 transformations. And now also we want to show the lower bound for set multilinear circuits. Okay, So the lower bound, in fact, will be typical lower bound proof. We want to get a measure, and you will see it to be a very standard measure. We want to show that IMM is large for this measure. And we want to show that if we want to compute something, let's say depth 5 set multilinear, it has to be, the measure will be small. Okay, and the measure, in fact, will be something very famous, the partial derivative measure, which already appears in the paper in 95. So what is this measure? We just take our set of variables. So we have the set of indices was D. We partition it into two parts, P and N. And we look at the monomial which are set multilinear on the positive indices, MP, and Mn, the set monomial which are set multilinear on the negative indices, Mn. So the part that says there are the positive indices and negative indices.
It's just nothing positive or negative in them. It's just a name for the partition.
Exactly. I will. In fact, in our paper, it has a sense. Here, I completely forgot the sense of positive and negative. So just say it's the name of the partition. There are the positive indices and the negative indices. But there are no reasons it's positive or negative. It will partition into two sets. Okay, if we look at the matrix, now look at the matrix MF, which is given by for any monomial M1 here and M2 here. So if you look at the product M1 M2, it becomes a monomial which is set multilinear into D. And so it appears with some coefficient, and we put the coefficient, the one it appears in F. And now we are D, we just take measure of F, the rank of this matrix. To add something, but just to say something fast, this rank has mainly two things which are very interesting. This measure is additive, subadditive, sorry. In fact, it's just the fact that the rank is subadditive. So if we take the measure of the sum of polynomial, it will be the smaller than the sum of the measure of each polynomial. And the only thing, which will be very interesting for us, as we consider only set multilinear polynomial, the measure is also multiplicative in our case. In fact, it's just the fact that if we do a product, the new matrix we get is the Kronecker product of the all matrices, and the Kronecker product is multiplicative with respect to the rank. Okay, so we found a measure, which already, but not us, already not before. IMM is large.
Sebastian?
Yes.
Can you go back to the previous slide?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe it's not clear why it's called partial derivative. This matrix, if you look at its rows, it will be the rows are the represent the polynomials which are derived from your initial polynomial by taking partial derivatives with respect to the monomial written there, let's say in one or.
Exactly. In fact, yeah. If we take our polynomial and we derivate from this monomial, there we derivate with this monomial and so on, we get a set of new monomials, and we take the vector space generated by these monomials, these polynomials, and we take the dimension of this vector set. It will be exactly the same thing as this rank. So it is always the region of the name. In fact, it's a partial. When you take a polynomial, we do the partial derivative with a different monomial here from the columns, and we take the dimension of the vector spaces generated by this new set. And in fact, it's symmetric, you can do by the rows and by the columns.
Yes, maybe two comments on this. So for people who haven't seen lower bound proofs before, this is almost the only way we know, just finding some measure which, you know, is compatible with a circuit computation. It's like, in this case, addition multiplication. It behaves well with addition multiplication. And it's, yeah, it's you know, it's high on the thing you want to compute, so that gives a lower bound. The other thing is that we know in general, not for this type of circuits, we know that these methods, whether in the Boolean case or in the arithmetic case, this type of methods will not give us, will not separate PNP or VNP for VNP. We know that. So Yeah. So we are, I think, in the whole history of lower bound, we are just pushing the envelope of this technique, but we don't have different techniques.
Yeah. In fact, particularly in this case, we will see the lower bound is really based on all the things. In fact, on the mainly based on this way I introduced this measure. It mainly based really on this measure. Yeah, let's see one more just a bit later. So if we want to look at IMM, so IMM, you recall, so we take this polynomial. So each time we have to take the column correspond to I1 has to coincide with the row I1 of the second matrix, and so on. The column I2 has to coincide with the row I2, the third matrix, and so on. And so we take the measure, we take a partition. Let's take the odd indices and the even indices. And now, if we want to get something like that, the monomial which appear here, so let's say MP is a positive, so odd, it will be monomial of this form. So 3, 1, 3. So E2 is 3, 5. 5 is E4, E5, I4, I5, and so on until D minus 1, I, D minus 2, I, D minus 1. Something we can notice, in fact, every I appears exactly one time here. In particular, this matrix will get 0 everywhere, but here it will get 1 exactly when M2 equals exactly the same I. So now we have to start with X2. It has to be I1, I2. X4, this will be I3, I4, till XD, which is I D minus 1. In fact, the given one of this monomial exactly implies the other monomial, which has to be which has to correspond. In particular, MF, it's a permutation matrix. So rank of FF is full.
In graph theoretic terms, it's just if you want a path of length D in a graph with D layers, if you partition it to the odd and even parts, they have to perfectly match, right, in a unique way.
They have to match completely. Okay, so I have a measure which shows that mu of IMM is là. What happens for mu of simultanear D5? So c'est là which will be a bit tricky, a bit thing like that. So let's look at just in 2 minutes, 1 minute, what happens for depth 3, because it will be important, in fact, for the following for us. Depth 3, what we know, we have a sum of product of something which is linear. We know that we are simultaneous, so we are homogeneous. So here we are really linear. The rank of a linear thing, so linear is something that are only variable from one set. So there are at least one of the, either the number of rows or the number of columns, which is 1. Almost 1. So the rank is at most 1. In fact, it's a rectangular matrix, just by thing. We know the measure is a multiplicative, so the rank of the product of Lij is still always 1. So it is interesting, and now the rank of a depth 3 set multilinear formula is always smaller than the size of the circuit. Because now when we had the addition by subadditivity of the measure, it's at most S. In particular, we have a conclusion that we not needed this. If we want to compute IMND, so that it was what appeared in Noam Bigerson, in a set multilinear, we need at least n to the t. Okay, so it was for depth 3. What happened for depth 4? And for depth 4, there is a problem. Let's look at that. If you look at this polynomial, so if we know ABP mu, is there a way to see it, something like that? This polynomial is a product of inner product. What I want to say? I want to say that, so we take a graph like that. Each time we have n edge, which corresponds to n new edge, n passes. And after we merge with n new passes of length 2, with n new passes of length 2, and so on. And we take a variable everywhere. And now our polynomial is just that the sum of all passes. when the weight of a piece is just the product of the variable along the piece. And now that we see that if we take this variable from this set, this variable from this set, each time in the same partition and the other in the other partition, we see that each time we take one variable, it will fix which variable we have to take in the other partition. In particular, we have a polynomial which has a small depth 4 set multilinear. We see here. This is the definition we give. And suggest the measure is large. This is full rank. So it seems there is a problem. So there's no hope. So the first thing which happened, in fact, recently, in the last 10 years, there are a lot of works that suggest a variation of this measure, which appear with a paper by Kayal and Gupta Kayal. Instead of taking the partial derivative, we're taking the shifted partial derivative matrix. And they avoid this barrier. And after, in Kumar Saraf and Kayal, Limay, Srinivasan, they can get something for homogeneous depth 4, so particular set multilinear depth 4. Okay, but we say the first case we want us it's a depth 5. So yeah. In fact, the new idea here is to keep with this measure. In fact, until now, something we always assume everywhere is the fact that the different sets of variables have the same size. In fact, in particular, to get this counterexample, to get this barrier, we needed to, each time we take one set of variables, we needed to merge with another set in the other partition, which has the same size to get the inner product. Now, if we force the set which are positive to have size different to the sets which are negative, we cannot construct something like that. And in fact, it will be just the argument to get everything. I just wanted to give intuition why. Now, if we want to compute something which is a depth 5, okay, so we know by subjectivity is utmost sum of mu of product. Okay, and call it this thing, so ij, ij. Okay, Tij are depth 3 polynomial computed by small depth 3 circuits. Okay, let's fix I. If there exists some j, such that the degree of Tij is large, if I want to show that it's already known what we can do, it's easy. In fact, already what I say, when you look at the result for depth 3 we saw before, we know that Tij is a depth 3 set multilinear. So we saw before that the measure for Tij is always smaller than the size of this formula. And in particular, if the degree of Tij is large, in fact, we look at each time what will be the maximal. Roughly, it will get at least normally the full rank polynomial for something of this degree has to be of this form. So intuitively, this will be a good case.
Oh, so can you go through this argument again?
Exactly. Ah, okay, but right. Okay, but maybe I know I can go directly to the proof. Do you want to continue with the intuition? Okay. Continue.
Just repeat what you said. I just
yeah. In the case when we have some factor which is large, which has large degree,
yeah,
we know one thing. We know that the measure of this factor is small. In fact, it is at most the size of Tij. This is just the same proof that we saw 3 slides before, the measure for depth 3 circuits. In particular, what we'll get if we have a factor which have a degree 2 square root of d.
Or because the number of products is.
In fact, the rank of the sum is 1. The rank of the product of sum is still 1. So this measure is at most the size of this sum. And so we multiply this thing. And in fact, what I want to say is that if the degree of this Tij is large, it means that from this Tij, you already take place for a lot of variables, a lot of subset of variables. So all other factors will compute only a small degree part. So the fact that this factor already is far from a full degree, full rank, it will make the product, it will make also the product far from the full rank. Normally, this factor deal with a lot of set of variables, with a large degree of this term, a large part of the degree of this term. So it has to take a big part of the rank of the new formula. We know the measure is multiplicative, so we'll multiply each part of each factor. So this one has a large degree, so it has to get a big part for the measure. Other part will get small degree, so they will not be influenced too much. But maybe it's more clear just after.
Yeah, but
just wanted, to say for the intuition that this case was a good case. The case was already done. So the only case, in fact, which.
But may I ask, how is it related to the fact that you are you have variable sizes, right? You said that the new idea is the variation, not to take each right each set of the same when you partition into set multilinear. So how is it related?
In the second point. In the
Oh,
first
in the
point, there is
second.
no relation.
Sorry, yes. Oh, sorry.
Exactly. It is so it was known before a long time that it was the easy case. In fact, so the intuition of the different sides, it is for the other case, when it was the problem. And so it gives the intuition of the different sides. So let's assume that if the index is a positive index, it has some size. And the set which correspond to different and negative index, let's say another size, which is a bit smaller. Let's assume that, imagine alpha, a constant smaller than 1/2, bigger than 0, positive constant. Okay. We still want at the end something which will be our R polynomial to be full rank. So our R polynomial, what it will be? It will be, there will be the matrix. If you look at the matrix, here, the number of monomial, it will be m to the size of p. And here, the number of rows will be n 1 minus alpha times size of n. So we want to keep the fact that p equals 1 minus alpha size of n. Like that, we were able to get some matrix which are square. And we can try to get something which is full rank. And now the idea is exactly that. We want that this thing is impossible when the number of set we take is small. Yeah, we take all the indices. Okay. Now if we fix J. So we know the degree of Tij, it is smaller than 2 to the square root of b. And in part, there are the degree of Tij, there are some, is the number of subset we consider, and there are positive subset and negative subset. So let's say U is a positive subset and V is a negative subset. The number of positive subset to consider, and V is the number of negative subset to consider. In particular, matrix of Tij, what is this form? Its form, it is here m 1 minus alpha, the number of negative indices, so V, and the number of rows it has, it's a m, and number of positive indices, u. And in fact, all the trick of the proof is to find alpha Pn, size of Pn, such that if uv, so we know they are integers, and we know they are small. In this case, we want that each time when you look at u, it is very different of 1 minus alpha v. When we force this decomposition, so to get a small number of columns, so small number of positive indices and small number of negative indices, this number will be integers, they will be small. We want just to force the matrix to be really rectangular. In particular, the rank will be at most the smallest size, so we will be far from the biggest rank we can up with this degree.
So, but these variables live in, there are variables inside matrices which are all the same size n by n. So you are going to set some of them to 0. How are you controlling the sizes of the sets?
Sorry, the size of each set.
The positive and the negative sets.
Yeah, let's say so. One is for each positive index. Let's say the set xi has size m.
No, the point is that he does next he does a reduction to IMM, but here it's going to be any kind of
Okay, exactly. So there is a good question. It's just the next slide for the thing with IMM. Just the slide after, because I just wanted to say thing. I will get this. I will answer this question in just next slide. This presentation. So we do what I say. We have a different set of variables. Sets which are positive indices with m elements in each set, and m 1 minus alpha in each set. The idea is, let's say, so let's assume that each time the number of the size of the set is the power of 2. So let's replace m by 2 to the k and m 1 minus alpha by 2 to the l. To keep the idea that k is larger than m, alpha was between 0 and 1/2, we keep the idea that k is something like that. L is something between k divided by 2 and k. Okay, so now at each set, the power of 2, we can index each variable in each set by a linear word of the alphabet 0, 1. So in the first set, we can index each variable by a sigma 1, which is another word in the 0, 1 to the k. And here we can index each variable by something which is of the form 0, 1 to the l. And in fact, what will be our R polynomial? And we see just after that, in fact, we can easily come back to IMM after. In fact, we just want to take the sum for all sigma 1, sigma t. Sigma 1, sigma t, if we concatenate all this word, it's a word of length k times t. And we want this word equals the word mu1, mu d minus t. And with the constraint we had before, it was the fact that kt equals L d minus t. It's the same that I put the constraint before with a minus L, 1 minus alpha size of n is equal size of p. The same constraint that here. It means that here we have the good length here and here. And also the variable we want to take from the set x1, we want to take the variable indexed by sigma 1. From the second set of variable, we want to take the variable indexed by sigma 2, and so on. Okay, and so this polynomial, it is easy, clear, that it is a full rank. Because in fact, for every, if we derive by any part which are, for example, the positive variables, in fact, it corresponds exactly to any word here of length kt, and it will give exactly one monomial in the other partition, which are exactly the same word of length.
Rank 1, this guarantees that the matrix will be an identity or permutation matrix.
Exactly. So it is not exactly IMM, but we can show, in fact, we can compute it very easily with IMM. It's a very small projection, very easy projection of IMM. How? Exactly what I said. So now our polynomial is this one, and I promise you to work with IMM. And in fact, the idea, we want to compute this thing, to project it as a projection of IMM. So IMM, one way to see it is by an ABP, so before, which you can look at each time this thing as the matrix which go from, so there's a row vector, and after we have the column matrix, the matrix with this input, this rows and this column, this rows and columns. And so we want to compute this thing. So we want to compute this thing, we want to compute this monomial and this monomial, and we want to compute this word and this word, and they are the same. So in fact, we just want to compute simultaneously both words to keep the same word. So for example, let's take k equals 3 and l equal 2. So we start with something from the positive set variable, which is no longer k. So we have a word of longer 3. And we keep in memory what we read until here and what is in advance. So now we continue with something from the other set, from the negative variables. And until now in positive, we look at 0, 0, 0. So we know in negative, we have to continue with 0, 0. Because we have to get the same word at the end. The blue word has to be the same as the green word. And after we read 0, 0 in the green part, we still have to read the third 0, which is in blue. So after we continue with green word, and we have to compute something which starts with 0. And after here, we read in green the 3 zeros, and now we have 1 in advance in green. So after we need to compute something which starts with 1 in blue. In particular, what we can get, what will be the largest width we need? But we need at most in advance a word of at most k. Each time we add things of at most k. So we can always, if we are already k in advance in blue, add some green. If we're already k in advance it's a green, we add some blue. So what we need to remember is only a word of size at most k. So in fact, hkd of x is a set multilinear projection of IMM to k d. The width will be 2 to the k. And
So
the degree will be d.
It's a very different place where you get that these. Here d could be anything.
D could be anything.
Yeah, there is no limit on this projection. Okay.
Exactly. So in fact, I promised to you to do the Lorban for that we do the Lorban exactly for that. Because this, we know it's it is a full rank for the new set partition of variables. Okay, 50. Okay, donc just finish stretch. So now we have our partition variable, we have our measure, it's always a partial derivative measure. We have really what will get our hard full rank polynomial. Now let's do it for 17R, D5. Okay. So we want a lower bound in n to the omega square root of d. We have different things that we saw before. So we know that in our partition sets are of size 2k and 12. And before we take k, we need this thing like that. And just to say, we needed tk equals Alors, we know at the end we want to compute something which is full rank. Full rank, what it is? It is a rank equal 2 to the kt. We know the matrix at the end is 2 to the k. Okay, so it's sufficient to show that the rank, so F is a summand of our sum. So it's something with F4. This, we just want to show that it's smaller than something of 2 to the kt, which will be the full rank, divided by the lower bound we would like. Because if we can show this for any summand, now the subadditive thing says that to get to the kt, we need the same. The sum has to be the same. Okay, let's write the 2 to the kt here in a different way. So 2 to the kt, we can say also.
What is t? Can you repeat?
T. Okay, t, it was the number of positive.
Yes.
T was the number of positive sets, and d minus t was the number of negative sets. So each set aside 2 to the k, 2 to the kt, and here it was the same. In fact, exactly what I would say here. So, in fact, I say the 2 to the kt.
But it should be imbalanced. So the number of rows and columns are not the same.
Yeah. So in fact, we took it like that. That will be the number 2 to the kt was the number of columns.
Oh.
And choose k, l, d, and t. So just the number of rows, in fact, is 2 to the l, d minus t. 2 to the l is the number of variables in one negative set, and there are d minus t negative sets.
We can think of t as d over 3, no? Something like this.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm just looking at the diagram and it says 2 to the kt and 2 to the kt in both the
because
columns.
they're equal, but yeah, if you to be, yeah, maybe it's more clear to say that.
Oh, yeah.
And we have the constraint that kt equals l d minus t. So this is a square matrix. And in fact, I just want to say that 2 to the kt, it is in fact, so full rank was 2 to the kt, and this thing, it is here in the case in square matrix, is the geometric mean between these two values. And in fact, one thing which will be interesting for us, the rank of a matrix, it's always small. In fact, it is smaller than the smallest size between the number of rows and the number of columns. In particular, it will be smaller than the geometric mean between the number of rows and the number of columns. So, general, if we have a f is set multilinear, which is computed somewhere where the number of positive indices which appear in f equals p, and the number of negative indices which appear in f equals q. So we know the matrix MF, it is of size 2 to the kp, and of a number of rows, it's 2 to the LQ. So the rank of F, it is always smaller than, so what I say, the geometric mean between the number of rows and the number of columns. Okay, and let's call it, delta of F, the difference, how far we are from this maximal value. This will be roughly the full rank values we can get, maximal value you can get for the rank for this number of monomials. And also take the rank, it will be smaller than that. So this thing divided by some values, which the delta will be larger than 1. Okay, so come back to our polynomial. So our polynomial, we say that f, it was a product of polynomial fj. Fj where a depth 3 thing. So each polynomial fj is set multilinear, so it comes with pj positive indices and qj negative indices. So the rank of fj by the definition of delta, it is just okay. In really keep. Okay, and now what will be the rank, the final rank of f? The rank of f, but we know that the rank is multiplicative. So it's the product on J of the rank of fj. And the numerator, what is good? In fact, so it is just numerator to sum of the, sorry, k sum of the pj plus l sum of the qj. Okay. And so when we sum all the positive indices which appear in the different factors, at the end, we need to get all the positive indices. So sum of the pj, it is k, and sum of the qj. Sorry, sum of pj, it is t, and sum of the qj, it is d minus t. So we have kt plus l d minus t. We know kt equals l d minus t, so we have 2 kt. If we 2, we have kt. Okay, so what we said just before that it's sufficient to show that. So it is sufficient to show that product this is larger than n to the square root of d divided by 100. Okay, let's take 5 minutes to finish the thing. Okay, I keep everything we said before, so I wanted to show that. So there are 2 cases, exactly the thing I said before. I said before, we say, so I is fixed, we look at some on f, there exists j, such that the degree of aj, let's take it, I think the same constant here, saying it is constant in the we saw before, so it was the depth 3 case, Fij is a depth 3 circuit, so we saw the rank of Fij, it was smaller than S. If S is large, it's already win. We want to show a lower bound for S. If S is already 2 megahertz current of day, so we already have a thing. So we call that the IMM just of width 2k. So N it is 2k. Is it 2 to the k? To remember a thing, we have the projection of the Hart polynomial into IMM. The width we get, it was to remember of word of length at most k. So it was 2k, 2 to the k. So the width of our N, it is 2 to the k. So it is something we want. Other case. In this case, we win because what we know that the 2 k square root of d divided by 50, this is larger than, so it's larger than S, it's larger than the rank of Fij. The rank of Fij, we know it is 2 to the k pj, 2 to the l qj. Okay. And now, for example, we see like that L is larger than K divided by 2. Donc, on peut mettre 2 in the form 2 to the K divided by 4. And after, we get only a Pj plus Qj. A Pj plus Qj, is the degree of Fij. We just upper bound L by K divided by 2. We group the K with N divided by 2, and Pj plus Qj, which come here. And so this is just the degree of Fij. It is, we know it's larger than square root of d. Completely. Degree of Fij, by hypothesis, in our case, is larger than square root of d divided by 2. Okay. Donc, the delta of Fij, it is larger than t, qui est square root of d divided by number. In particular, we know that all the delta will be always larger than 1. So the product of the delta is always larger than. In fact, in this case, we have only one factor. We keep all the distance we are far from Frank. And so that it is exactly what we want to show. I call it loss. Sorry. But I call it loss, it's what I call it delta now. Change my notation.
So this is like in the intuition before. If any one of the FJs compute a polynomial of high degree bigger than roughly root t, then you lose immediately in the rank and you're happy.
Exactly. And it's finished. And so the last case. So until now, we didn't fix what we want to take a value for K, L, things like that. So let's just fix something. And let's just choose L equals K minus K divided by 10 square root of D. And we want an integer, so take the integer part. And so now the idea is just to say the rank is at most the smallest length size of the matrix. And in fact, we will only use. So if you look at Fj, what we know that the number of columns is 2 to the k pj, and the number of rows is 2 to the l qj. So in fact, we want to look at the ratio between the number of rows and the number of columns. So the ratio, it will look at, it will be 2 to the kpg divided by 2 to the lqj. So if we take the logarithm, the 2 to the something, but in fact, with the testing, it will be something on this form. And so we would like that the ratio is, so the ratio is far to be 1. So this is a 2 to something like that, the ratio. So that's far to be 1. We want this thing is far to be 0. As far as we can to 0. Okay, so this thing, it is what? Take the value we choose now. So we took kpj minus k. I just replace L by the value we get. Okay, now I want to remove the integer part. And when I remove the integer part, so if there is an error, the error here is at most 1, so 1 times qj. So we have not an equality, just larger than that. At least that. Okay. let's put k outside. Okay, this is an integer. Pj, qj are integer, so this is an integer. And this, we know that qj is smaller than degree of fij, which is smaller than square root of d divided by 2. So this is really smaller than that. In particular, this live in 0, 1/2. In particular, this thing, this is at least this value. This fractional part of integer, this thing has to be at least the fractional part of the value. Now, we say that we choose D, which has logarithmic is a number of variable, and we say that log n this is k. In particular, 10 square root of d is really smaller than k. So this part will be smaller in front of this one. Okay, and I say now, roughly it's finished. Because what does it mean? It means that the ratio between the number of the rows and the column, it is always 2 to the this thing. So the rank MFJ, it is what? It is at most what is that? And we know we are at least far from this rank, because that will be the geometric mean. So if we have the geometric mean here and geometric mean here, what will be the full rank? Here, the ratio between both lengths is quite large. So the minimal value, the minimal size between both, this is a thing divided by it's just the fact that the rank of a matrix, a rectangular matrix, is at most the smallest size. The smallest between the number of rows and the number of columns.
Sorry, the last inequality, it says rank of MFJ is smaller, and then you have the numerator. So the numerator there, where did you get it?
Okay, we always know that the rank of a matrix, it's always smaller than
it's the smaller than
size.
Yes, but here you have to do something else, no? Yeah, sorry.
And I say the minimum between the two values, it's always smallest than the average mean, the geometric mean. And how I say that exactly, if I take the ratio between both values and I take the square root, in fact, so let's assume, assume that LQG is the mean between both values. Okay, in particular, this is equal to what? This is equal to okay. I want to say that the geometric mean this is equal to 2 LQJ square times the ratio I just write 2L1QJ one time, and the second time 2K+J, I say 2K+J divided by 2LQJ multiplied by 2LQJ. This is just if I cancel one and cancel one, it's the same thing. Okay. So this is the minimal value, 2LQJ, times the ratio between both. So in particular, 2 to the minimum, which is what we want, it is equal to the geometric mean divided by square root of the ratio. The minimal value between both, it is equal to the geometric mean between.
Yeah, this will happen for every matrix of F.
Exactly.
Yeah, my question was about the specific Fj. So probably I meant the numerator, not the numerator. So where is the bound for the upper bound?
So
for
the specific here, it is the fact that the ratio 2 to the thing, it is large. So for this matrix, we know that this ratio is large.
Oh,
so the numerator doesn't change.
And Qj are specific to are parameterized by J. Yes, I see now. Yeah, thank you.
The numerator is the same, it's the geometric mean between both values. And now our the proof to say this ratio is large. In particular, this thing will be small. This rank will be small. If it has a rank. So the rank here is this thing, it is a ratio between the geometric mean and the ratio. And so if we take so 2 to the thing, the ratio is 2 to the thing. And if the square root, I put 20 square root of d to 40 square root of d. In particular, and below maybe things like that. Delta of Fj. It was the delimiter of the thing. Okay. We finish. Product of J of delta Fj. It's 2 is at least 2 to the k.
And this is D, this term.
Exactly. This is at least square root or d divided by 2.
D divided by 2, yeah.
So exactly what we wanted. And also in this case, we want the product of the delta, let's say, the loss of Fj are larger than t, 2 to the k square root of d divided by 100. So with the best case, we show that any set multilinear formula computing IMM of the phi must have size n omega square root of d. By the escalation result, it implies that any circuit of depth 3 computing IMM also has size at least n omega square root of d. Okay, so I'm already quite late, so I will not do the proof for larger. What will be just say 2 words? Or if you want to say something, I can say something, but you can already wait late. In fact, mostly for larger depth, it will be quite similar. We will do the proof just by induction on the depth. The same thing will work mostly. There is one problem here, is the fact that here, that this L and K was exactly designed for square root of d. And now when we'll consider different depths, we'll need different parameters here. We'd like sometimes maybe d to the 1/2, maybe d to the 1/3, the different layers. And we cannot change after the circuit because K and L are the partition of the variable at the beginning. So L has to be fixed completely at the beginning. And what happens here, it has to be the same thing for the different step, different layer of our constant depth things. But in fact, the idea, well, there is some way to do something similar to that, but the idea we do in the proof, in fact, is just want to show that something like that, so something like that, is far from 0. So instead of playing with the square root of d and thing like that, the other idea we do in the paper is to put here 1 divided by square root of 2 and use the fact that 1 divided by square root of 2, we cannot be close with small rationals. I say small rational by a small, take a small numerator and small denominator. It's hard to approximate 1 divided by square root of 2. That is famously, we can control how close we are from 1 divided by square root of 2. And so now we can get something which is the same value, the same parameter for any depth, for any layer we are. Just in 2 words, the big difference between when we increase the depth. And if we increase the depth, we get something. So when we increase the depth, the problem, so we get something similar. Each step, the constant which appear in exponent of d, for us, it decreases exponentially fast with the depth. So here we think we are fast from the optimal. So we start with depth 3, the n to the square root of d is a good value. But after, our constant decrease very, very fast. We don't know. That will be the open questions. Can we improve the bound? So we have some ideas that cannot improve like in the same way like that, but can we get a lower bound in omega d to the 1 divided by gamma instead of something which is exponentially small in gamma? So in the proof there was the escalation. Is there some way to improve the escalation? For example, can we remove the characteristic zero restriction? So like that directly, no, but maybe there's something we can say. Yeah, so I didn't talk, but Shrikant already talked about PIT yesterday. But now we can get also for constriction, after we can get lower bound, often we can get a constriction algorithm for our polynomial. And so the idea is if we want something similar, so we come back to the original measure. Maybe the approach to do a variation of the measure could help to get something to avoid the new barriers. Thank you. Sorry for being very, very late.
You're on time. Okay, thank you very much. Questions for Sebastian?
Yeah, I have a question about the escalation, something similar that I've asked before about the escalation part. About the characteristic zero. So it seems to me that there is something that is slightly paradoxical there, because the whole escalation part, the part for in the upper left here circuit, when you replace a circuit into homogeneous circuit, it works for large fields, because basically these over large fields, constant depth circuits have some strength. Namely, they can actually compute with even homogeneous circuits. They can compute some with the small depths, elementary symmetric polynomial or something like this. And because of this strength, you get the lower bound. But and then you say, because over finite fields, the circuits are more limited, weaker in some sense, because they cannot do this simulation. They cannot compute symmetric polynomials with small depths. You don't get the lower bound for finite fields. So something seems kind of, that's what I'm trying to explain. It seems a bit, maybe this kind of loophole can be exploited, because you exploit the strength of the circuits in order to get a lower bound. So do you have some ideas, some comments?
I don't know, but yeah, completely. In fact, it's really the part that characteristic zero is important. It's really the part that when you want to compute elementary symmetric polynomial homogeneously, using big characteristic, using big constant, really seems to be useful. I don't know, yes, what to be. But yeah, I agree. It is the point where characteristic zero is really important. and positive characteristic. I don't know exactly what we can hope.
Well, Ido, what characteristics do you have in mind? Like 2 or 5?
Yeah, finite fields.
Then we know exponential lower bounds from the Razborov-Smolensky, I guess, right? Because they are essentially
correct, but
we know the result.
yeah, but it doesn't. It's not necessarily the only way to get the lower bound. You can simulate it.
I'm wondering whether one could use their technique, and the only missing part would be this interpolation. This, I guess, computing geometric symmetric polynomials, which we know we cannot do homogeneous.
Yeah, I agree. It's not immediate, but you can try to maybe reverse engineer the whole proof without the whole lower bound, without actually doing the set multilinear lower bound, because it basically of a large field, you can this result shows that you can use this lower bounds anyway. Not just the lower bound for set multilinear can be generalized to general circuits, right? Well, it's not an easy question. Just
Yeah, so
any more questions? Okay, thanks a lot, Sebastian.
thank you.